Welcome, my friends, to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, and I'm thrilled you're joining me today for a fun conversation with a passionate author. We're kicking off the program, like it's our tradition, with a short reading from the feature book. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started.
My name is Nancy Reynolds, and we're joined by Patrice Hough Bader. We are co-authors, and we write under the name of Amber Anthony. Our book today is Blood Dragon, which is the third book in our Blood trilogy that is mostly about vampires, but this particular book is about a dragon shifter who is friends and an employee of the vampires. He finds out that there's a con man who has discovered that dragons exist and has been searching for them in their homeland in the Highlands of Scotland. A lot of our books involve cons to trap the bad guys. In this particular con, they're trying to keep him from realizing his goal of exposing dragons. So this is part of the con that they're working on. After a 2-hour trudge up the mountain, Flynn was visibly winded at the edge of the campsite when a piercing feminine scream generated by their loudspeaker electrified the air. Rail dropped to his knees. Matt tensed and looked over at him. "I hate tourist season." He gestured in the direction of the scream. "They come up here and they're never seen again." Rail gawked at the carnage. "Shouldn't we call for help?" Mac struck a questioning pose. "Who are you going to call?" Rail threw his hands up. "Those people who stopped us, he had a gun." Matt pulled his furry hat off his head and scratched at impossibly filthy hair. "You call that a gun? Hell, that gun couldn't stop a puma without emptying the clip, much less stop a dragon." "Well, should we?" Matt chopped the air in the destroyed campsite. "You want to play hero and get yourself eaten like Lenny?" He pointed the machete to bones and scraps of sheep carcass. "You go right ahead, but don't be looking for backup from me. I intend to live through this last go-round with dragons." "What do you mean, last?" "I mean, there are plenty of other mountains here that don't have dragons. Folks can visit them. So if you're looking for a close encounter, don't expect me to save your ass." Rail was dumbstruck. "But you're the guide." Matt continued to swing the machete aimlessly. "I'm your guide, not hers. If I'd been hers, she wouldn't have got within flaming range of those dragons." The sound of trees being toppled and crushed drew closer. Rail's face paled. Matt shook his head. "You hear that? It's getting closer. So unless you want to be toe jam, we got to hide." The final scream was cut short with an animal growl. Matt pulled Rail into the frigid, rushing stream. "They can't smell you if you're in the water." Rail looked around anxiously. "What about piranhas?" "You play, you takes your chances. You could live with stumps, but if that dragon eats you, just look what they did to poor Lenny." He lowered his head as if in a moment of prayer, then paused and looked contemplative. "Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to come back to the old campsite." Matt scratched at his chest. "You reckon dragons got memories? Goldfish only have a 2-second memory. That's why they keep swimming around all happy and stuff." Matt hunkered down, his vampire metabolism enjoying the chilled water. He smacked Rail on the head. "Can you hear it?" Rail winced. "Hear what?" Matt whispered. "Listen for the wings. They swoop real loud. I heard tell that's the last thing you hear before, you know." Rail lost patience. "Well, then shut up." Matt looked away and muttered, "There was no need to be so damn rude." Adam flew low, following the stream. flaming a narrow swath of fire as he went, careful not to set the forest ablaze. His eyes met Rail's, and he zeroed in. It's looking at me. Oh my God, what should I do? What should I do? Matt crouched low and backed away. Getting hot here. Good luck. Matt took off at vamp speed, leaving Rail to face his fantasy. Adam watched the fear envelop Rail. He'd never actually engendered that reaction before. This is kind of fun. He watched Matt run off, leaving Rail hip deep in icy water. Adam swept his great leathery wings back and hovered over the man. His powerful posture as a humongous airborne threat gave him the adrenaline to see Rail fall backward in the water. Once Rail went under the rushing current, Adam swiftly beat his wings to circle and obscure himself behind the tree line. His flight sound was more menacing than a squad of helicopters over a battlefield. Adam listened for Rail's plaintive cries as he circled overhead. He followed the sound of Matt's screams. If this was going to make the right impact, Adam had to pick Matt up and carry him away with the greatest possible terror. Should I pick him up in my mouth and give him a shake? Or should I carry him off in my terrible claws? Decisions. In the end, Adam decided the mouth was far more fear-inducing. Okay, you big bad vampire, get ready for dragon breath. He swept in, his mighty tail taking out trees, causing leaves to swirl in fierce eddies, and forest life to scatter to the four winds. Adam's dragon eyes allowed him a great view of Flynn Rail, the cowering tourist. Adam caught the tail of Matt's thick coat, and he prayed the ugly thing was buttoned well. Actually, Matt's expression wasn't far from Rail's. Adam heard him babbling about take it easy. Once Adam flew to a clearing within the crater, he gently set him on his feet. Matt's feet hit the ground, and he quickly dropped his coat and hat. Good God, do you slaughter like that all the time? This is gross. Adam's dragon tilted his head and yawned. The sound was triumphant, just enough to convince Rail he consumed Matt. Matt held out a cautioning hand. Hold on, buddy. First, Matt broke a bag of blood over the coat. What a waste of A positive. And then he hooked the bloody, slaughtered on coat on Adam's lower fangs. We need to have proof of death. With a confirming nod, Adam ascended to deliver the final blow. Rail managed to get himself out of the creek and onto the bridle path, and was headed down the mountain as fast as his terrified legs could carry him. It was a simple matter for Adam to fly low over him and swoop at the petrified man with his claws, taking care to miss every time. Finally, he let Matt's bloody coat drop directly in front of Flynn as he emerged from the thick forest. With a deafening cry, he pulled up and let the breathless man escape. Adam shifted and hung behind in the thick foliage to watch Rail beat on the car doors seeking entry. In a moment of clarity, Rail tracked back to the bloody coat and squeamishly shook the car keys out of the pocket. Like a man approaching the pearly gates, he ran, unlocked the car, and locked himself inside. He jammed the key into the ignition, and the wheels spun as he put it in reverse and got the hell out of Dodge. Adam swallowed his satisfaction and shifted back to find Matt and fly them both back to serenity.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. I am thrilled you guys are joining me today. It is going to be such an awesome and fun episode. We have a little treat for everybody. We normally don't get to do this. We literally have a pair of authors to write under one name. So I have the fabulous Miss Rusty and Miss Nancy here, who represent tag team duo extraordinaire, Miss Amber Anthony. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
ladies, this is so exciting. Like, I'm a little kid. Like, we're talking dragon shifters, we're talking a little bit of vampires, you name it, it's here. So, we're going to jump in because I'm sure our listeners are going, what is going on? Let's start with what is this story about? You gave us a little taste, Miss Nancy. I want to know who came up with the story from the beginning.
We spend a lot of time saying, what if? And we spend a lot of time saying, I'm thinking if we, and then just build together on the story. But Adam is a dragon shifter, was first introduced in our first book, which was Blood Rising, that was mostly about the vampires. And he was a minor character in Blood Rising. Eventually got his own book.
As a dragon, he exposed himself in Blood Emerald. And there is a phantasmagorical opening scene where Adam is the victor, considering he's a dragon among vampires. So each book we use ensemble casts, and the characters that people ask for more are the ones that get to move up and get their own book with their own full story. And we have a great group who have populated the Blood trilogy. And then when we can't write any more books in a trilogy, you only get 3 books in a trilogy. So then we had to do Tales from the Jailer, which was their club, their vampire club. So now we have 2 books in Tales from the Jailer that involve these characters. So the series, they grow and beget new series.
Question for the wondering minds over here. How many books do you guys have together? What is the countdown?
Yeah, 13. There's one that we have worked on the longest. It's probably our blockbuster.
It's
It's a military
adventure.
political action thriller.
Yeah.
The first woman president, and what happens when she discovers that there is such a thing as cold fusion and how it changes the face of the world. So there's a little bit of fantasy in it. From my experience of working in Washington, D.C., when I was in college, we pulled as much fact into the presidency as possible. It's not like Independence Day. It's a more reality based. That is what we've been working on for a year, and we're letting that sit right now, and then we'll have to do more fact checking. We have 2 standalone books, Becoming Gabriel, which is a tale of redemption in urban Baltimore. That's the full story. There isn't any more to say about Grace and Gabriel. And then we have a book that is a metaphysical romance, Arise, My Darling. And when that hit, several of the readers wanted to know the ghost story. There's a ghost there that helps the young man. And people want to know Red's story. And in the end, there is a child who is also gifted that she can see things. We'll probably go back to that and write that.
And we now have 6 of the vampire series. And we have another series we just completed the 4th book on, which is a straight action adventure series involving former SEALs. That's more of a military type action thriller.
And if you like Hawaii, it's set in Hawaii, because I got the opportunity to go to Hawaii as a local and experience the local things, not the tourist things. So I was really very pleased when somebody approached me at LLS and said, I read that book and it was like being in Hawaii. Everything you mentioned, all the restaurants and the weather and the places that they were going, it was just like being in Hawaii. So that was an extremely high compliment to us that they were interested because of the immersion.
Ladies, how long have you guys been writing together?
2008 was when we started fiddle faddling around, because we went to England and we went to Hampton Court. And while we were there, I had a past life experience there and went to sleep that night. And the next morning, I told Nancy I had an idea for a script because at that point we were screenwriters and we kicked it around and then we wrote it down. Nancy at the time was friends with DC Fontana, another DC.
Her actual first name was Dorothy. People who know Star Trek would know her. She was originally Gene Roddenberry's assistant and then became the story editor and a wonderful screenwriter, not only for Star Trek, but for lots of other shows, and eventually was teaching at the American Film Institute in screenwriting. She passed away 2 years ago now.
She was our writing coach.
Yes.
So that was extremely informative. And we also worked with Eric Bork, who won Emmy Awards for his Band of Brothers. He covered our scripts and advised us and helped us. And recently, within the last year, Harry Worksman, who was big with Half and Moonlight, we contacted him because I was going to Multiverse and teaching elementary writing, getting started for writers. And we had him cover one of our scripts. And then he wrote about it so that I could carry this to the people that were wanting to learn how to write.
You guys have over a decade of experience in this field. And what made you decide to go from screenwriting, which is very, very different than novels? What made you decide to take the leap?
We just weren't getting a lot of traction in the screenwriting world. We had several scripts that were almost chosen, but not chosen. And we decided we wanted our stories to be seen, for one thing, but we wanted more control. We started out working for regular traditional publishers. And then we had several bad experiences. One publisher went out of business, and another publisher started out as an offshoot of Simon and Schuster. They were bought and taken over by someone who was kind of a con man himself. We had to really work to get our books back from him. We decided after that that we were going to self-publish where we had the control.
I love it. The fact that you guys are both resilient. You are not giving up and you're going to continue to work on your craft and now you're going to give it back. I think that's a beautiful thing. When you guys looking at your books, what is your target audience? Do you guys have a demographic?
No, because if you take our paranormal stuff and you take our contemporary stuff, we are just creating one big world. And we say that because we write our paranormal as a magical realism. We don't really write it as paranormal. We believe dragons are among us. We believe you wouldn't know if you met a dragon. We believe you would not know if you met one of our vampires. They would be nice to you and treat you just like they would treat any other character.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, we have like they call Easter eggs in our Romans adventure series. Every now and then, a character from one of our
vampire series pops up.
And he's not there to exert his vampire. So he's just there because they have to deal with a person who has this expertise and they deal with that person. It's especially fun in our newest book that will debut in LLS, Roman Wedding.
I love it. For our listeners who are wondering what is LLS, it is Literary Love Savannah. It takes place every summer. It is a really fun convention specifically for readers. So if you want to take an immersion on a trip and enjoy it, you can look it up. There's an awesome Facebook page. So ladies, I got a technical question because I ride by myself. Me, myself, and I do not have to share space. Who is in charge of typing while you guys are working together? How does that work?
We are both typing at the same time. We're on the phone. We should own stock in Sprint or whatever. We're on the phone probably at least 6 hours a day, sometimes 8 hours a day. And we're both typing at the same time. Sometimes we have very slightly different things. but we read it back to each other.
Hold on. I think I'm confused. You're both are writing the book at the same time? Like there's two books being typed on?
Mm-hmm. But kind of a stopgap. If something happens to one, we have the other.
And you know what? That really came in handy. Was it this year, Rusty?
Yep,
When
it was
my
this year.
completely, completely dived. I mean, I lost everything.
Ooh.
Thank God Rusty had it.
You guys have been doing this for a while. What advice would you guys give an up and coming author?
You have to know who you are and what your standards are. Then you have to make sure that your worlds, the worlds you're creating in your books, are consistent. You have to go with the time period you're in. The most important advice is to keep going. You learn every time you write something. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep your head down. Keep working.
That is a beautiful advice. You guys been through so many of the situations and you're still writing and you're still loving it. I think that's even more amazing because you're doing it and you're loving it. Ladies, where can our listeners find your books? Where can they learn more about you?
We have a website, amberanthonywrites.com. We have pages at All Author, BookBub, Goodreads. Book Series in Order is a little known website, but especially for someone like you who has so many fascinating different books, Book Series in Order, if you're not over there, you may consider approaching them about getting your things there, because when somebody wants to read your book in order and they don't want to jump all around, that's where they're going to be able to find out about you. They can find us there. We're on Twitter, Instagram.
We have an author page on Amazon.
Yes. And then you can get our ebooks and paperbacks worldwide. We are distributed through Ingram Spark and Draft to Digital.
Very nice. Our listeners can find you, ladies, enjoy the books, get to know you more, and be fascinated by your project. So before you leave us, because I can chit chat with you guys every day. So, are you guys ready for the lightning round?
Lightning round. Ooh.
First thing that comes into your head, don't think too hard on this. Let's see how you guys do. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Coffee.
Okay, I got a coffee and a tea. Awesome. We're going to do it in order. We're going to have Nancy first, then Rusty. So that way we'll get you both. City or country?
Country.
Rusty?
Country.
Okay. All right, ladies, this is a little different. Don't think too hard. One word that best describes your personality.
Tenacious.
Ooh, I like that. Rusty?
Scatter. I got a book to write. I've got 10 more pages to write. Oh, let's go ride bikes.
That sounds like such an author life, so I can understand. Ladies, it has been a pleasure. Do you guys have any closing remarks for me?
Oh, well, if you enjoy tea like I enjoy tea, go to Adagio Teas and check out our 36 different teas that are especially blended to reflect our books and our characters. 5% of every purchase goes to a charity that is more or less could be related to the book that it's about. And in the last year, I got a thank you letter from Gary Sinise and his organization because 5% of many of our teas went to support his lovely organization for military people. So check out the page with Adagio Teas, Amber Anthony. Find a variety, low caffeine, high caffeine, flavors, just all over the place. Just one more aspect of what we incorporate into our.
I love it. That is awesome. Miss Nancy, any closing remarks for us?
Well, no, except that, as Rusty said, she's the one who creates the tea. She's a wonderful cook. I don't cook at all, but she knows how to blend ingredients. And I must say, her teas are delicious.
Ladies, a pleasure. I'm even more fascinated and awed of everything you guys do. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been so much fun. To our listeners, go ahead, follow Amber Anthony everywhere. Make sure you pick up the books. We'll be back next week with another fabulous author. So make sure you give us a like, a review, a huge shout out, and thank you to our Patreon community who continues to support us. The link is in the comments if you guys are interested in joining us. And I will see you guys all back next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.